Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio and powered by our favorite sponsor, TireGet.com. That's TireGet.com. You have to buy tires from somebody. You might as well buy them from us, help fund the movement, help support the movement. We believe in the freedom of movement, and that's exactly what the establishment wants to take from you now. I'm your host, Royce White, here in the belly of the beast, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Day is April 22nd, year of our Lord, 2024. Been a while since I've been in the chair. It's been a whirlwind. It's been a whirlwind campaign, a bunch of other stuff going on as well. A couple of deaths, death of my aunt, death of one of my childhood friends. A lot of things going on. A lot of things going on. However, here I am, and we're thankful to have you back this evening. We're thankful for all the support, all the feedback, all the continued growth of the channel. We know we're being throttled on YouTube. We can tell from a lot of the feedback that we get from people who say that our channel and our updates for our videos, uh, live premieres is not showing up in their feed. Not unexpected, not unexpected. But you can only suppress the truth for so long. What we are proud of, and what I am personally happy about, is the people who see the podcast. For the most part, have nothing but rave reviews, and that's the same on the audio platforms such as Apple and Spotify. You can go see the reviews there are pretty similar. So the people who are getting the podcast are enjoying the podcast. They appreciate the podcast, and we appreciate you out there in the audience for that as well. Um, Remember to tune in to the John Fredericks Radio Network Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're still working diligently to get those radio replays. We're on episode, I think, 50. We started at the beginning of February, and we're now at the middle of May. So we're almost at about 50 episodes, I would say, of the John Fredericks Radio Network radio show. The Royce White Radio Show on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Also, don't forget Saturday mornings on Real America's Voice. The Royce White Show premieres before the great Steve Bannon in War Room at 9 a.m. Eastern. So be sure to catch that. Those replays, the replays of the radio show and the replays of the Real America's Voice Royce White Show will be hosted on one YouTube channel, Royce White USA, and one additional audio platform that you'll find, a channel that you'll see start to populate, I'm sure. And we'll drop the links in the replays on the YouTube channel as well, so you can easily find that new podcast channel on the audio platforms. So we appreciate you being back again this evening. Like I said, today we're going to be talking about a number of things. I just want to dive straight into it. You know, we got about 100 or so traitors in the United States Congress on the Republican side. We know what the Democrat agenda is. We know what the Democrat plan and platform is. Their plan is to have a country with no borders. Their plan is to run up the debt. Their plan is to engage in forever wars. Their plan is to infinitely expand the federal government beyond any reasonable limit, so that you, the American citizen, the individual out there, has no real citizenship, and as a consequence, no real sovereignty whatsoever. Essentially, you'll have no rights, and that's already begun. I mean, that cliff has already eroded. All right, there's already an avalanche. There's already a free fall of your rights being violated and being, let's say, stepped on, pissed on by your federal government. That started way back with the Patriot Act. And then right there was the crossover. Right there was the uniparty going to work. Right there was this sort of hypnosis that the American people fell under. You could go back. You could go back some more. I mean, we can go to the Civil Rights Act. You know, we can go to NAFTA. We can go to there are a number of markers. Pick one. I mean, they're all over the place. But right now, it's about as clear as day what the agenda is, and it's about as clear as day what the problem is. The problem is this federal government is too big, and not only is it too big and too corrupt. It's a leviathan. It's big. It's nasty. It's corrupt. It moves in secret. It does everything that people like John F. Kennedy and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. Everything these people warned about, our government is now doing. And the Democrats can try and hold up any icons they want, any influential figures throughout history they want, whether they be black, white, yellow, green, does not matter, the color, the race, the creed. They can try and hold up anybody they want. The fundamental fact is that this Democrat Party is upholding New World Order. They are upholding the neoliberal, neocon world order. They are upholding the idea of global citizenship, the death of America, the fall of the West, the managed decline of the West, but really the hateful and resentful destruction of this country. Yet they want to be in control of the country. Yet they want to wave this country's flag. Yet they want to say they're doing things in the interest of democracy, in the interest of America. They want to try and redefine what America is, and they think you're stupid. And the cold open there, the cold open that we play is the best example. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. It doesn't get any better than the American government, the Department of Defense, paying $90,000 for a Ziploc bag full of bushings that are used for engine turbines and whatnot for jets, fighter jets, cargo jets, whatever the case may be. $90,000 for a material for a product that should cost no more than $100. And some people would say that would be called inflation. And some of it is inflation. Some of it is just administrative state corruption. Some of it is the way that the contracts get done, as he explained in the video. But some of it, my friends, my fellow Americans, some of it is dark money. Some of it is money that's getting siphoned off the top of every single piece of legislation, every single appropriation that comes down to the United States Congress, and everybody's getting their beak wet. I told you before. I told you before that the single greatest, the single most important piece of political news in the last 18 months was the Department of Defense going through their a self audit where they expected to find $4 trillion worth of inventory, and they only found two. I often reference the Goodfellas scene where they take over the local watering hole there from a gentleman, and they start to run a protection racket with him because one of the wise guys that are in the area is giving him a lot of shit, won't pay the tab, roughing him up, scaring him, making him think he's going to kill him and whatnot. And so they go to the captain in the neighborhood, who was played by Paul Sorvino, and he says, "Hey, I'll be your partner in the restaurant." And as soon as he gets into business with them, they start running an insurance scam. Then they run up a bunch of bills on the restaurant's credit. And then at the end, what do? They burn the restaurant down for the insurance money. I mean, and you look at the American mind. I always bring this up, and I think people are like, why do you always take it back to the street? Because the scam they're running on you is no different, just at a much bigger scale. It's at a global scale. It's at the highest level possible. And I think because the level is so high, you don't associate the two. That's why I get so pissed off when the Fox Newses of the world, or the Alpha Newses of the world for that matter, want to show me the latest, the latest incident of a young black man stealing something out of a department store. Petty crime, really, in comparison, not even close. I mean, honestly, it's not even close. That's a petty crime compared to what the American government is doing to you every day. And the problem with it is not that they're showing the news, that they're reporting the news, and that people are committing crimes, and that's newsworthy, and we should all be conscious of it, and we should all be cognizant of it, and we should all be concerned with it. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the American people, by and large, have no real sense of duty, priority, power, and stopping the American government from buying $90,000 bushlings that are really only worth $100. The American people seem wholly uninterested in that. And I'm just being honest. And look, again, I know the MAGA movement's on the rise. I know the America First movement is on the rise. I know nationalist populism is on the rise, not only here in this country, but all around the world. And the great Steve Bannon, per their reports, is the intellectual backbone of the movement. I would agree. I'm following them for a reason. I'm loyal for a reason. However, there's still not enough of you out there that understand what's actually going on. Or let's say you don't feel empowered to do anything about it. Number one, join the Republican Party. Don't be telling me the Republican Party is this, the Republican Party is that. Go to precinctstrategy.com right now. Find your way into the Republican Party. We have to start somewhere. Taking back the Republican Party from the Mitch McConnell types and the other 100 House representatives that voted to pass this bill is a fantastic place to start. Secondly, turn off the Fox News. Turn off the Alpha News. Stop getting baited into fear porn. Stop getting baited into what we call no man's land. In basketball, there's a concept. It's called no man's land. And usually happens on defense, mostly on defense, where a man is neither here nor there. It usually happens when in basketball, if you're not on the basketball, let's say on the left side of the court, and you're not on the basketball, you're not guarding the man with the ball, you're considered off the ball, an off the ball defender. And as an off the ball defender, if you're hugged up on your man, you have no chance to help the defender who's on the ball. And as we say in basketball, the ball scores. So in most cases, great offense beats great defense. And that's why what basketball teams, most modern basketball teams do now is they try and help the primary defender as much as they possibly can. Now, the higher you go in the level, the more tough it gets to help because the offensive players who are off the ball, they make shots much quicker, they're much bigger, they're much stronger, they're much more efficient, so on and so forth. But yet and still, even in the NBA, if you watch tonight, and a lot of these teams don't do a good job of it, you'll see their off the ball defenders have terrible body language, terrible readiness. You'll see it. Watch an NBA playoff game tonight. Watch the defenders who are not guarding the primary ball handler, and you'll see a lot of times they're walking, they haven't turned around, they're not ready. Point being is, you find yourself not really on your man off the ball and not really in a place where you can help. Or you're helping late. And if you help late, it's the same as not helping at all because you can neither get to the man who's driving to the basket or the primary ball hand. You can neither get there to stop him from making a play, nor can you get back to stop your man from getting an easy shot. We call that no man's land. A lot of people in this country are in no man's land. Consciously, politically, socially, philosophically, spiritually. No man's land, dead space, dead zone, neither here nor there. But the establishment, the mainstream media industrial complex is smart enough to give you enough of something to make you feel like you're actually in a position that's meaningful. You're actually in a place psychologically, mentally, consciously that's meaningful. You're not in a meaningful place. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you check the latest news about the crime in your local neighborhood, and you have not looked at the Federal Register, you have not read the Foreign Affairs magazine, you have not checked into international news sources to see what the entire world is saying about a given situation like Israel and Iran or Russia and Ukraine or whatever else. If you have not double and triple and quadruple checked what's really going on in this country, what's really happening to your rights and your citizenship, you are in no man's land. Now, I know the America First movement, and I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but we hope that some of what happens on this podcast breaks its way through the algorithm and finds its way to people who are outside what we would deem the echo chamber of the America First movement, because ultimately politics is about converting people. And I see some conversion happening. I see some conversion happening with Democrats. I see some conversion happening with black folks. I see some some conversion happening with the Christian community. I see some conversion happening all across the board, but we need to speed it up because these people mean to bankrupt you. They're stealing from you. I don't want to hear another motherfucking word about how much petty fucking crime black people are doing. Even the assaults. And look, it's despicable. It's disgusting. I know it. You know it. The people who are doing it, they know it. But see, the problem with it is it's just like anything else. We've built this culture where the media projects our fears. The media sort of represents our collective fears, our collective weaknesses, and then we get the chance to jerk off and complain about it instead of doing something. And the doing something for most American citizens is, yeah, it's getting ugly out there. Yeah, It's looking more dangerous than it ever has. Yeah, yeah. It's not safe. In general, it's not safe. Not to say you're going to walk outside and be the victim of a violent crime because that's fear porn. That's not the reality. Most people are not the victims of violent crime. Increasingly, most people are not the victims of violent crime. However, we do see a sort of rumbling of violence that is a bit more, a bit more unprovoked than in previous times. I mean, and that's the part that's scary. It's almost has a sort of demonic spirit to it because it's so unprovoked. And a lot of it you see, you look and yeah, it's black people. Yeah, there's young black people lost their fucking minds. No fucking home training, acting like goddamn degenerates. And it is disgusting. And all of you fucking black folks out there who make a fucking excuse and say, oh, it's their circumstance or they come from poverty or when you put people in poverty, that's how they act. Oh, fuck all that shit. No, that's how people who are poor act when they don't have any faith in sacred honor. There used to be a remedy for this. There used to be a solution to this. Yeah, not everybody's going to be rich. Not everybody needs to be rich. One, we let certain people, individuals, groups, corporations monopolize natural resources, the bare essentials, which we never really needed to do. That's number one. But number two, not everybody's going to be rich. Not everybody's going to have their talent, their business acumen, their professional life distributed equally. That's fucking dumb. And what's even more dumb, most people don't even want that. I mean, in your heart of hearts, in your dream of dreams, all you Democrats and liberals and Marxists and communists, in your dream of dreams, when you're doing your fucking, your weird fucking art shows or your Judeo-Buddhist fucking your Kundalini, seances or whatever the fuck you're into, all of you secretly aspire to move up the hierarchy of whatever group you're associated with. That's human. That's human. Humans aspire to rise up in social status. I got no problem with it. Hey, I myself went away from the rise of social status intentionally, which is a sort of sign of sacred honor in the decrepit, radical materialist society and culture we live in today, might I add. I mean, it is a significant sign of character and sacred honor for me to tell the NBA, fuck you, fuck off. You think that the human condition is not the top priority. You think money's the top priority. And then you got the audacity to use NBA Cares and all these other philanthropic partners to try and pretend like human welfare is your primary focus. But people on the inside know better. People on the inside know different. You can slap Black Lives Matter on the side of that fucking basketball court all you want to. Doesn't change the fact that the NBA, along with many other corporations that preside over you, we the people and free people all around the world, many other corporations don't give a flying fuck about the general welfare, well-being, and prosperity of the people around them. Hell, there's an argument to be made they don't even care about their own well-being. So when a person steps away from that voluntarily, especially when they're in a position where it's almost a certainty that they'll have fame and fortune, we need to take note of those people. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm just telling you the facts. Most people would not turn down $100 million to speak the truth, to talk about the principle of the matter. Most people would not turn down playing in the NBA playoffs right now today, right now this evening, to talk about things on principle. Most people that I'm not knocking you. What I am saying is this. Too many people are in no man's land. Too many people are too absorbed and concerned with what the mainstream media lets you think is a meaningful position in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. You're in no man's land. And it's not just the fear porn of crime, public safety. Oh, if you're a Republican candidate and you get up there and talk about public safety, you get cheers from the geriatric white folks. And I got no problem with white folks in Middle America. I got no problem with the white boomers. I mean, I really don't. There's enough blame to go around. You people out there in this country need to understand this. No expansion of the police state, no expansion of the military state is going to protect you from becoming the victim of a violent crime. No expansion of the police state, no expansion of a military state is going to protect you from becoming the victim of a violent crime. Only you can protect you. You need to go join a self-defense class. You need to go join a martial arts school. You need to go learn how to box. You need to go learn some jujitsu. You need to go learn how to kick and how to punch and how to elbow. You need to go learn how to stop a knife attack. You need to go learn how to handle a firearm. These are practical things that you could actually do, and you will find some enjoyment in. You will find some real meaning, some sense of solace and peace of mind that your safety, your security is better suited in your own hands. You'll find some solace in that, but you'll also find that it is a great way to promote health and wellness in your life. Get more active. Get more fit. Stop fucking complaining. Stop sitting on the couch saying, this group of people, that group of people. I see it on Twitter all the time. It's the fear porn, the racial fear porn is outrageous. It's become obnoxious. Every time I see a young black kid just walk up and sucker punch somebody, God forbid it's somebody white, the comments immediately go, oh, there's another one. Look, shocker. It's a black person. I mean, give me a break. I mean, if you're stupid enough to let people propagandize you like that, then you deserve to be a fucking slave. And you will be a fucking slave. And the reality is you're already a fucking slave. What we're working on in this movement, what Donald Trump is working on, what Steve Bannon is working on, what Alex Jones is working on, what yours truly is working on is trying to motivate you, trying to inform you so that you can break the bondage you're already in. Don't be thinking you're headed towards slavery. You're already in it. You're already in hell. You're already a serf. You're already a wage slave. You're already a slave to global governing bodies. We are trying to motivate you to break those bonds. And you're not going to do it by letting the Fox Newses of the world take your monthly shekels and pay some fucking exorbitant, inflationary cable television fucking price so you can tune in to Jesse fucking Waters. Fuck that motherfucker. Fuck him and fuck all those other, mealy-mouthed, controlled opposition people at Fox News. I got a fucking email the other day, about a week back, from the political unit there at Fox News, saying that they wanted to meet me to contact them and send them a press kit for my campaign. Fuck those motherfuckers. They don't want any part of what we're talking about. They know what the fuck I'm talking about. Hell, there's people in the America First movement. There's people on our side of the football, on our side of the aisle, but then on our side of the football, on our side of the aisle, that don't really want to talk like I'm talking, because even at the furthest level, at the far reaches of the talking heads, the pundits who speak about these issues, some of them even talk a good game, but they don't want to see the status quo changed. Speaker Mike Johnson, he's one of them. Look at his voting record. Votes America First for the most part. Gets in there, wraps his motherfucking military-industrial complex, neocon rhino bullshit in the cloth of Christ. That's taking the Lord's name in vain, but y'all are worried about profanity. See, you missed the whole point. And some of you, it bothers me. It bothers me to think that people tend to believe they have such a good grasp on what Jesus Christ meant and what he said. Hell, when Jesus Christ came the first time, he was revealing scriptures to the most holy of holy high priests and people there in his time, revealing things from scripture of the Old Testament that had never even been thought of. He was doing that then. You think when he comes the second time, the same thing won't occur? You think the prophets that come now will not reveal things in a certain viewpoint of things that we haven't previously thought of, even in the Christian community? And I'm here to tell you one of them. You people are way too caught up with your Christianity being tied to not using profanity. Meanwhile, your government steals your fucking money And they're trafficking fucking kids right out there in the open, and everybody fucking knows it. You turn a blind eye as long as the people who represent you don't use profanity, don't curse. As long as the FCC continues to keep the nightly news clean of foul language. Fuck you. Fuck you if that's where if that's you deserve to be a slave. So don't come complaining to me that Donald Trump's getting strung up on a cross in some kangaroo court witch hunt. Of course he is, because you out there, we the American people in general, as a collective populace, are more interested in the bullshit than we are the real shit. That's the reality. And guess what? Number one issue: border debt forever wars. They're one issue. They're one issue. Globalists, nationalists. They're one issue. Border, debt, forever wars. If you don't think they're one issue, just look at how your elected officials are voting. Look at how they bring these issues to the table. They're one issue. Okay? One issue. One thing to keep you distracted more than anything else. Oh, race. Oh, it's just constant. It's constant. Black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white. I can't stand it. It's so corny. It's corny. On both sides of it, it's just fucking corny. You black bourgeoisie sellouts want to keep saying everything's about race. Then the white middle America goes, oh, well, race this, race that. Oh, black people making excuses, blah, blah. I mean, shut the fuck up. You're getting fucking robbed. I'm not your priest. I'm not your counselor. Let me be your uncle. You're getting fucking robbed. You're worried about nothing. Bullshit. Bullshit is what it is. They want to spark a race war. We know it. We know that the media industrial complex loves racism and loves pitching race because it sells. We get that. What doesn't sell is a bag of bushings costing $90,000 and the Department of Defense paying it when it's only worth $100. That's what doesn't sell. That's what doesn't get airtime, and that's not even their fault. That's your fault. That's your problem. That's what you want to pay attention to. That's what you eat up from the nightly news, from the content you consume. That's not on them. That's not on the establishment. If the establishment couldn't sell it to you, they wouldn't sell it to you. If you weren't buying it, they wouldn't sell it. You're buying it. We're buying it. The American people, too many of the American people are buying it. And that's what we got to stop first. Stop buying this bullshit. And what's the latest story? Oh, I mean, it couldn't be more poetic for me to come to you as an athlete, a basketball player, but also a combat athlete. Look at the storyline here. Caitlin Clark. I go to X, and just surely I think to myself, just surely when I wake up this morning and I go to the trends, surely I'm going to see the economic bubble. I'm going to see the military-industrial complex, the cost of war, inflation. Of course, I'm going to see Israel and Iran, what's going on there, and all of the implications of a third world war breaking out there in the region. And this is what the focus is going to be. Now I see at the top of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin fucking Clark. And then some beef breaks out between, some story. I don't want to say a beef, but some controversial story about my good friend Steven Jackson of the Big Three. And he's got the podcast All the Smoke. And Gayle King said something about just Dawn Staley and Dawn Staley. And who gives a flying fuck? But the problem is a lot of people give a fuck. Honestly, too many people give a fuck. This is the great degradation of the American people. This is the great degradation of the human civilization worldwide. As the barbershop talk has become too small. They make you think that, smart has become uncool. Intelligent has become uncool. And as a consequence, being well-informed has become uncool. It's more cool to talk about surface shit. It's more cool to talk about nothing. That's the great psyop of the mainstream media industrial complex from here all the way to Beijing. Except they're in Beijing and they're in Russia. Their media talks to them like they're fucking adults. Here in the West, in America, but particularly here in the West, but particularly here in America, Our media talks to us like we're fucking children. And I'm not saying that as conjecture. I'm not saying that as a conspiracy theory. I know it as a fact because when I ran my first political campaign against Ilhan Omar, the conventional wisdom of political campaigns from all of the experts and the consultants was you cannot speak to the American people above a 5th grade reading level. That means that the people who oversee the political process which decides how you're governed think you're fucking stupid. They can take it to the bank. And they got the data to prove it. They're not making it up. They think you're stupid because in many cases you've proven to be stupid. And that offended me. Just learning that had me make a decision that I would not leave politics until I was able to win and get to an office where I could speak to the American people at broad enough range to change that status quo. But you gotta help me help you. You got to help me help you. And it's not about sending me money. It's not about going to roycewhite.us and becoming involved in the campaign. That's part of it. It's not even about going to the Republican Party. It's about demanding more for yourself as an American citizen and as a free person, as a human being. Demanding more for yourself than to get caught up in some brouhaha about Caitlin fucking Clark. Who gives a flying fuck about Caitlin Clark? Here, I'll speak on it. I'll say it very clearly. Say it very clearly. Gayle King, she's been a fucking sellout. She's Oprah's understudy, okay? She's Oprah's, she's Oprah's lapdog, okay? Oprah's a motherfucking sellout. Gayle King is a fucking sellout. Most of all the people they have on the Oprah Winfrey Show are sellouts. They had Donald Trump on the Oprah Winfrey Show back in the 80s. He was talking about America first then. Oprah switched sides, jumped sides when he didn't want to go with the Democrats and went with the Republicans because he believes in having a country. And Oprah believes in flying around and acting like she cares about human beings because she donates money for mosquito nets and fucking in Africa. But then, at the same time, wants to denounce ivermectin like it's not a wonder drug that saved many, many lives in Africa, millions of lives in Africa. I mean, she's a fucking sellout. Oprah's a sellout. Gayle King's a sellout. Dawn Staley of the South Carolina. Dawn Staley thinks it's okay, it's appropriate for biological men to compete in the women's league. She said it. I didn't make her say it. Nobody fucking made her say it. She said it. Don't tell me about the pressure. Now, all you black bourgeois motherfuckers, don't tell me she had to say it. She knew she had to say it. Guess what? When they put a motherfucking microphone in front of my face and told me what they expected me to say, I said, fuck you. Keep your fucking money. And that's what integrity is. And I don't care how many national fucking championships you win in women's college basketball. If you don't have that integrity, then it's all for naught, Dawn Staley. And I'm all for giving people their props when they've won, because this country is supposed to be about meritocracy. That's supposed to be a value of this country. And if that's a value, then winning is winning. And I tell my young players all the time, don't be caught up in this new communist Marxist brouhaha that, everybody's a winner. Everybody's not a fucking winner. There are winners and there are losers. Going back to my original point about everybody wanting to be a winner. People want to win most of the time, unless you're some type of sick sadist masochist and you want to self-destruct and be punished and be a loser. Some people are like that. More power to them. God bless you. I'm going to pray for you. But most normal people want to excel. They want to win. Okay, so we respect that. We admire that. And South Carolina has won. And they've done it in grand fashion. And that's to be respected and admired. That's to be acknowledged. It's not, however, to look the other way, to turn a blind eye, when a women's basketball coach says that a biological man such as myself should be able to play in women's college basketball. Now, there's a flip side of this coin, and I'm going to get there in a moment. But so by definition, Dawn Staley's a sellout. What do you want me to sugarcoat it? Anybody who is trying to advocate that biological men, should be able to compete in the all-women's league is a motherfucking sellout. Not a final position. She could come back and change where she's at on that, and then I would change where I'm at on her. But for now, Dawn Staley's a fucking sellout. There's no way that the fight for women's rights and Title IX and all of these things that try to bring women to an equal playing field, no pun intended, equal playing field, and in all of these different industries of life, but especially sports, especially college sports. I mean, Title IX was specifically for college. All of the fight that's happened there now to let men come play with the women, not only does it undermine everything that the women's rights movement has fought for and stood for, it kind of shows it to be the sham that it is when women are the ones promoting it. And what's really sick, now this is the sadistic part, and then I'm going to move on to another piece of this line, this same thread of thought here. Here's the sadistic part. Here's the sick fucking part. The sick fucking part of it is that deep down, the psychology amongst women is so broken at a broad level, societally. It's so broken that women are more interested in winning a battle, a cultural battle with men, where they're willing to undermine their own principle on a given issue. They're willing to undermine their own principle on a given issue to see men humiliated. And that's why your biggest advocates of the trans movement, the LGBTQ trans movement, are women. Your biggest advocates of biological men cutting off their penis and dressing up like women are women. And there's a reason for it. It's not about human rights. It's the same way Bill Gates tries to, I'm doing this for the human rights. No, the fuck you're not. No, the fuck. And women, you're not doing it because you believe all people are created equal. You're not doing it because you care about the mental and physical well-being of the trans community. You're not doing it for that. A lot of women get off on seeing men humiliate themselves. It's a sort of humiliation ritual. It's becoming a cultural humiliation ritual for women to advocate to watch men cut their penises off and dress up like women and try to act like women. It's a sort of gotcha sort of, it's kind of a taunt. It's kind of a mock. It's a mock to the rest of men to watch a man cut his penis off, dress up as a woman, and try and act like a woman for some type of social, attention. That's the sick part. Now, moving on. So, Dawn Staley, you're a fucking sellout. I'm going to tell you straight like that. Shame on you on behalf of those girls who won that national championship, because I'll tell you right fucking now, if a player like me shows up on any one of those teams, any motherfucking team that South Carolina beat, if I showed up to play, my 18-year-old self, hell, my 16-year-old self, if my 16-year-old self showed up on any one of those teams, we would destroy the South Carolina girls team. There would be no answer. I'd be scoring 60 fucking points. You think Caitlin Clark's scoring a lot of fucking points? Imagine trying to guard me. You think Juju, I think her last name is Watkins. And she's good. Don't get me wrong, and she's good because she plays more like a man. Her movements are more like a man. Her body is a little bit more of a men's basketball player. Not to be mistaken with a man, though. For women, she plays more like a man, and she's good. She's damn good. You think she's scoring a lot of fucking points? Imagine if LeBron James was allowed to play with the women. Are you people losing your fucking minds? Are you that scared to speak the truth? Are you that much of a fucking sellout that you would even entertain the idea that LeBron James could wake up one morning at 18 years old, decide to become a woman, and you guys will allow him to play with all women? First of all, you're putting the women in harm's way physically. The women players are already suffering from a disproportionate amount of hip and ACL issues. Women are tearing their ACLs left and right at all levels because of the way that their hips are built. I mean, and now you're going to throw a fucking 250-pound middle linebacker out there? Are you people fucking retarded? And what it proves is you don't give a shit about the well-being of women. You don't give a shit about the safety of women. You care about the politics. And if it suits the politics, you'll throw the well-being right out the fucking window. And that is the hallmark of the Democrat platform. That is the hallmark of communism and Marxism. That is the hallmark of postmodernism. That is the hallmark. That has become the hallmark of liberalism. And that goes for the neoconservatives as well. It's about politics. It's not about truth, and it's not about well-being. You people are lying. Dawn Staley, you're a fucking sellout. And I don't give a shit what this. I don't need Gayle King to tell me. Fuck Gayle King. Okay? She's a fucking sellout. But that you're no different. And Gayle King and Dawn would be on the same side of the football around that issue. That's what's interesting about it. They have a disagreement about Caitlin Clark versus South Carolina. Who gives a fuck about that? When it comes to real issues that matter, for women's basketball even, they'd be on the same fucking team in lockstep. You see how even the gossip, you see how even the opposition, the controversy is manufactured. It really isn't about shit. I hope you can. I hope I'm painting a picture for you. Let's move on. The South Carolina Caitlin Clark, killer. She is a killer. I watched her play in high school. She came to Minnesota. She played against some of the high school girls teams here in Minnesota, played against my sister team when she was in high school. My sister was a top 100 player. She's at Indiana State right now trying to find her way. Tough to do, being a young college athlete. Hey, you either figure it out or you don't. You either play hard enough or you don't. You either study the game and you become obsessed with how to be successful on the court and understand that, or you don't. Not everybody gets to. That's why there are winners and there are losers. Caitlin Clark's a fucking winner. Bottom line, she's a killer. She works on her game. She puts the time in. She understands the game. You can tell that she understands the game by watching her. She's a killer. South Carolina had more killers. That's the reality. Caitlin Clark is a killer. South Carolina had more killers. South Carolina proved that Caitlin Clark has limitations to her game as an individual. Some of that could be the team. The rest is a supporting cast. But it's a team game. Caitlin Clark has limits to her game. She still scored 30 points in that game. And let me say this to all you people out there who, again, now we want to make this about race. Oh, Caitlin Clark's getting the notoriety because she's the white girl. No, Caitlin Clark's getting the notoriety because in any basketball season, the players who score more get more accolades. The players who score more are often covered more, and they're often become the superstars, and the superstars get more publicity. That's just the way it is. That's the way basketball has always been, and it's probably the way basketball will always be, unless you're Marxists and communists and leftists come in and they control the media to a point where they equally distribute all of the media coverage across all teams. But see, that will never happen, because there's certain points where the money of the machine makes too much of the decisions to even let the leftists put their politics on the way things are done. And that's a prime example. I don't give a fuck how much equality they want. The superstars will always get more media attention than anybody else. Caitlin Clark is a superstar. Bottom line. People like watching her play because for a woman, she's got huge fucking lady balls. Huge lady balls when it comes to playing back. Huge, gigantic. Okay. Part of it's her coach letting her shoot the shots she shoots. Part of it is her being able to shoot them and make them. And that's damn impressive. And anybody who says otherwise is full of shit. Now, does that mean she's going to be the best WNBA player of all time? No. Does that mean that it's going to translate to WNBA? I don't know. Could not. I'm not really that interested and invested in it one way or another, because the bushings cost $90,000 and your government's paying for it and it only is worth $100. I'm more focused on that. But I'll tune in from time to time because I love the game. So I respect Caitlin Clark's game. I admire her game. I admire what she's done. South Carolina had more killers than Iowa, and that's why South Carolina won the fucking game. They had a few more killers. Individually, not one player on that South Carolina team has the superstar power, has the superstar presence that Caitlin Clark does. And here's the thing that they, it's because she's white. Let's say it is. Who gives a fuck? When you are a superstar player in a sport that's dominated by by a certain demographic of people, you're going to stand out. That's a part of the fucking game. That's a part of the media. That's the part of the circumstance of having a nationwide sports culture, community, content, creation, broadcast that has different races of people, different people who look different, whose skin color is different. So what? Tiger Woods benefited from the same thing. Now, Tiger Woods was a killer. He worked hard. He worked on his game from a very young age. He was almost obsessed about it. Maybe it did him some harm in the long run from a human standpoint. But the bottom line is he exceeded and excelled at his sport much, much greater than almost anybody in the sport's history. And golf was dominated by white golfers. And because he was black, everybody in the media salivated a little harder because it was easier to sell. He was unique. Selling stories in the media can, one, be by force, by fiat. We're just going to shovel something down your throat, whether you like it or not, whether it's warranted or not. We're going to tell you something's good, even though it ain't that good, like Taylor Swift. Okay, that's an example of something just being forced on you. Taylor Swift. Music ain't that good. Performance ain't that good. But they're going to keep pushing it on you because they can control her and they can control everything, all the ancillary propaganda that comes from her as an entity. Taylor Swift is something being shoved down. Tiger Woods was an anomaly. He was a unicorn. Look, I'm not saying anything bad about Taylor Swift. Songwriter, she's a decent songwriter, okay? But they're forcing it on you. I mean, it's just as somebody who's grew up around music, grew up around Morris Day and the Time and the Minnesota music sound here, and people who were real musicians and people who played instruments and people who were bad motherfuckers with instruments. I mean, bad. I'm talking about them performing live, you couldn't even put a price on it. That's how good they were. You couldn't put a price on seeing Prince perform live. There's no price. Whatever the price was, it ain't worth what he's going to do. That's how good he is. Taylor Swift ain't that good. And they're going to pay about the same they're gonna overpay for Taylor Swift the same way they're gonna overpay for the Bushings, because it benefits the agenda, it benefits the establishment, and at the end of the day, they're printing the money so they can do it, they can afford it. Okay, that's one thing. Tiger Woods wasn't like that. Tiger Woods was an anomaly. Tiger Woods was a unicorn in golf, but he was also a unicorn because he was a black golfer. He was a golfer, a black golfer in a white-dominated golf in a sport that was dominated by white golfers, and it benefited him. And we all loved it. We all watched it. White people cheered for Tiger Woods the same way, cheered for him to win the same way. It benefited him to be a unicorn. That's just the reality. It benefits Caitlin Clark to be white. Fine. The sport is dominated by black people. Maybe not the women's game as much as the men's game, but certainly the men's game is dominated. Hell, mainstream media, American sports is dominated by black people. Bottom line. The biggest selling sports are football and basketball, both of which are dominated disproportionately by black athletes. So, I mean, even the girls get a sort of boomerang of that. And even, again, when you see the white girl doing what Caitlin Clark is doing, leading the way, leading the country in scoring, making shots, making plays that nobody else is willing to take, let alone complete and make, of course she's going to get more attention. Is that what we really want to fucking cry about? Is that what y'all really want to cry? Who gives a flying fuck? That just tells me y'all are petty. You ain't even, your focus is on the wrong shit. My focus is so much higher than that petty ass bullshit that when I hear about it or when I see what Caitlin Clark is doing, I look at the basketball of it. I'm like, damn. Let me see if she guards. Let me see how good of a passer she is, which she is a pretty damn good passer too, which goes unspoken because she scores so many points, but she sees plays before they happen. And that's a hallmark of a great player. All young players need to develop that. You got us the two greatest skills in any team sport, but especially basketball, the two greatest skills are vision and anticipation. Those are the two greatest skills. Those can neutralize a separation of talent and athleticism any day. Vision and anticipation can neutralize a gap in talent any day, a gap in size, a gap in athleticism. So Caitlin Clark's a very good passer, and partly she's a good shooter because the same skills make her a good passer. She sees it before it happens. She's able to complete and make the plays. She's very, very good. Okay. She gets a little more media attention, and you all want to cry. That's the hill of racism you want to die on. And you think you're fucking slick. See, this is what really pisses me off the most. Y'all think you're fucking slick. You want to keep the conversation around the Caitlin Clarks and how it's the white girl versus the black girls, so we don't pay attention to the real racism happening. The real racism is you neoliberal, neoconservative, globalist motherfuckers allowing a border to be open and flooding undocumented illegal immigrants into black communities to replace black people in this country while you still send them off to jail at the same race that they've been. In fact, you want them to go to jail even more. That's why you're putting music in their communities, and that is in the control of the music industry. Let's be frank, okay? The FCC can control what music goes on your television at night, but they can't control what music and what messages come out of the music industry. Give me a break. Creative control, freedom of give me a break. Anytime you talk about shooting people, glorify shooting people, selling drugs, doing drugs, being a drug addict, worshiping Satan, all of that shit is goofy. It's goofy. And I told as a side note, I want to get back to Caitlin Clark in a moment, but I told my young players, we were on the road in Ohio, and I know they like rap music. And hell, I mean, I grew up with rap music. I'm a 90s kid. I come from a black community. Rap music was just hitting the scene in a major way in the 90s, really taking off. And we were on our way to the game, and I had the rap music playing. I try and play the clean versions, just because I mean, I think that's better than not. But I turned the music down, and I told them, I said, now, and I teach the young boys life lessons as much as I can about being young men. And I told him, I said, listen, let's have a conversation about rap music. I know you like rap music. Coach likes rap music. I'm not saying nothing bad about you listening to rap music, but I will say this. If I find out that you're dumb enough to try and act out the shit that you hear in this rap music, I'm going to be very, very, very disappointed in you. And I might show up and put my foot in your ass as your coach, honestly. And I think we need more coaches like that. Not coaches who are coming in with the fucking speakers, bobbing their fucking heads to the same goofball ass crash out rap music that the kids are listening to. No disrespect to any of you out there, but you know who you are. You need to check your fucking self. You got to check yourself right here, right now. Or don't be complaining, saying that our young black men are being mistreated by the system. We're brainwashing, we're conditioning them that way, we're raising them that way. And we don't have to. There's a lot of ways to make money. Now, obviously, I mean, a bag of bushings costs $90,000, only worth $100. So the markup, that's the word I was looking for before. The markup on shit is astronomical, okay? So there's a lot of ways to make money. This whole narrative that we only have a few ways to make money as black men, that's a fucking lie. That's a part of the psyop right there. That's the CIA working on you since the days of Reagan. Not true at all. Not true at all. There's a lot of ways to make money. The number one way to make money, honestly, would be if you black folks would pool your money and spend money on yourselves with your own businesses rather than going to buy fucking Gucci. Okay, that'd be the first way to make a little bit of extra money, to keep the dollars within your own community. That's called group economics, something that the Jewish community does very well, something that white folks in America tend to do pretty well, something that the Asian community does very well, something that the Somali community here in Minnesota does very, very well. Black people behind the eight ball on it. Get ahead of the eight ball. I digress. Point being, I told the young kids, I said, if you're stupid enough to act out what you hear in this rap music, if you're stupid enough to act out what you hear in this rap music, then basketball is the least of your worries. I said I used the example of Jackie Chan because I asked the kids, "Are you guys familiar with Jackie Chan?" And they all go, "Yeah, we know Jackie Chan." I didn't know because Jackie Chan's so old. It's amazing how his career is kind of just transcended time. People still watch Rush Hour; it's a classic, and so on and so forth. But I had to check with him because Jackie Chan's not young anymore. I mean that was a Rush Hour was a while ago. Anyway, I'm like, Jackie Chan? They're like, yeah, we know Jackie Chan. I said, when Jackie Chan jumps out a window or does a stunt, are you gonna go out? Are you gonna go out and do that stuff? No, we wouldn't do that. Okay. Movies are no different than music. Really. They're no different than music. The difference is that the only difference is that rap music more closely portrayed a circumstance that does exist in the inner cities in black communities. So in that way, what's talked about in rap music more closely resembles and resonates with what's happening in real life. But there is a gap still in there between really being a gangster and the shit that they talk about in rap music. Because see, in rap music, you sort of glorify and pretend like I could shoot and kill a motherfucker with no problem, and then I don't care about having to go to jail. But what we see is that when people actually do end up getting in trouble for any number of crimes that they're involved in, they cry in the fucking courtroom. They pass the fuck out in the courtroom. When people get shot and they're bleeding out and there's camera footage, they call the police. They call out for God. Oh, dear Jesus, Jesus help me. Call my mama. They call out for their mama. They want to act big and bad when they're on those rap songs talking their shit, or when they're in relative safety until the shit is actually on. But when the shit's on, they sing a whole different tune. And a lot of times they sing a different tune and they're telling on the people who they vowed to keep secrets with in the criminal world. Oh, no snitching, no snitching. People snitching left and right. That's not even a real thing anymore. People are snitching before they're even asked about it. They're preemptively snitching on each other. This is the reality of the black community. And if you're in the black community, if you're from the streets, you know it. I'm not making it up. If you say something different, I question whether you're really from the streets. Or I question your agenda and what you're trying to feed these young people. You will get in trouble. They will slam your ass with 100 fucking years. You will cry because you will never know what it's like to not be free until you're not free. Until you're never coming home, until you'll never see the light of day and be able to move around freely. You'll never know what that's like until it hits you and it sinks in. You will never understand what it's like to be dying until you're shot and you're bleeding out. Everybody thinks it's fucking cool until you got a bullet in your head and you get your shit scrambled and you're dying. Then it's panic, and that's some of the worst stuff to see, because when you see it on video and when you see it in real life, you realize instinctually as a human being, you realize they didn't know what they were getting themselves into. Even if they kind of knew, you don't really know the totality of the consequences until they hit you. So, I mean, the rap music the rap music in America talks about a general circumstance that is relatively accurate, more generally accurate. It's not 100% accurate, and it's certainly nothing to glorify, and it's nothing to try and emulate. And so I had that talk with the kids, and I turned the music back on. I said, "Here, okay, now you guys can listen to it, but remember what I said. Remember what I said." And I bring that up because, again, to go back to Caitlin Clark, our race issues in this country aren't about white female basketball players getting more notoriety than the black girls. If you believe that that's the issue with black America, you're fucking stupid. If you believe that the root issues of black people in this country stem from situations like this one, where Caitlin Clark is getting a little bit more publicity and notoriety than her black female counterparts in the sport, you're a fucking moron. I'm actually scared of you. I'm scared of how stupid you are. I'm scared of how little you know. I'm scared of how uninformed you are. I'm scared of the way you vote. And not only am I scared of the way you vote, I'm scared of what you're teaching your kids. I'm scared of where your loyalties lie, because I know where the thinking comes from. And maybe you don't, but I do. Comes from postmodern Marxist identity politics in the universities, where every fucking discussion has to be about race. Every fucking discussion has to devolve into race. Give me a fucking break. The girl is better than 99.9% of the girls in the sport. Unless you let me play with the women. Then she's not going to be so good. And it's actually going to undermine the accomplishment of what that young lady worked on her whole fucking life. So to even discuss it is disgusting, Dawn Staley. And it's not just her, it's the girls of South Carolina as well. And again, I go back to say that because I can't stress the importance of how identity politics, whether it be race or gender, or religion or non-religion, how these identity politics are the real cause of the crisis and chaos we see today in this country. And people who are true believers, don't be getting it twisted. These people really believe in these ideas, but there are people smarter than them that use their ideology for a greater agenda. That ideology is being used to a greater end game. And the end game is very obvious. We're going to keep all you people out there, whether you're black, white, whether you're yellow, green, clear, whether you're human, extraterrestrial, whether you're men, women, trans, young, old, employed, unemployed. We're going to keep all of you focused on the headlines of a Caitlin Clark, on the headlines of racial controversy. We're going to keep all of you focused on sports. We're going to keep all of you focused on the NBA. And I love basketball. A big part of my life is basketball, coaching basketball, training basketball. I love sports. Sports has a lot to offer young people. It has a lot to offer this country and communities. I love sports, but not at the expense of knowing, being informed that the Department of Defense is paying $90,000 for a Ziploc bag of little pieces of metal that go in jet turbine engines that's only worth $100, and they're doing it on your fucking credit. All you black people, all you young black folks out there, all you young Negroes out there, you talk about being gangster. It's somebody stole something from you. Your fucking government's stealing from you every day. I don't hear the rah-rah with them. I don't see you getting tough with them. Why? Because your police are militarized. Because your military is overly militarized. Because the administrative state is has the backing of the police and the military. You don't feel empowered to actually do something, to actually seek the justice that you deserve as an American citizen, as a human being. You don't feel empowered to do that. So you project your you project your frustration into violence and chaos on people who are way down the trough. And that's the same thing they're doing with the racism conversation. The real racism in this country, the real racism goes all the way back to Egypt. Let's go back to Africa. Let's not talk about colonial Europe. Let's go back to Africa. Let's go to China. Oh, slavery, subjugation was around way before the modern interpretation of what black and white is. You go back far enough, people subjugated their own. People came up with even more arbitrary ways to describe and categorize each other so they could justify subjugating their own people. That's the history of human civilization. Way before the American or Western historical interpretation of Negroid and Caucasoid or black and whiteness. Subjugation goes way further than that. The real hallmark of racism in this country is that the Democrat Party, the neoliberal, neoconservative world order wants black people to be the linchpin of their agenda by telling them that the only way for them to be safe, to have prosperity and well-being is to continue to expand the federal government. There's nothing more racist than that. There's nothing more racist than your fucking government telling you that they have to get bigger and have more of your money in order for you to be safe. There's nothing more racist than that. There's nothing more un-American than that. And I hate to go off on these rants. I mean, I don't have any notes here. And I think that's the best way to do it. You don't need notes when you're telling the truth. You don't need notes when you're telling the truth. You shouldn't need notes when you're telling the truth, when you're speaking from the heart. Maybe I'm saying some things you don't agree with. I'd love to know what. I'd love to know which part. I really would. Please, in the comments. If you disagree, you think, hey, Royce, you're fucking batshit crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You're full of shit. Please drop it in. Tell me which part. To recap here, the military-industrial complex is taking your ass. The uniparty there in D.C. is helping them. Half of the Republican Party there in the well of the Congress are fucking traitors. They're in on the scam. The inflation is out of control, but even more importantly, the administrative corruption of buying and acquiring and acquisition of supply chains and products, essential products for our country's military and national security, like a $90,000 Ziploc bag of bushings that is really only worth $100. When that has become commonplace, when that has become the norm, you are getting your ass handed to you. They are bankrupting the country. They're doing it right in front of your face. They're robbing you, and they're doing it by keeping you distracted with bread and circuses like conversations about race or petty theft or assault and battery fights or whatever the case may be. And if all that fails, when all that fails, they'll get you tied up in some two-sided argument, some fake two-sided argument about Caitlin Clark and the South Carolina, the black girls from the South Carolina women's basketball team. All while the women who lead the conversation on one side or the other are in lockstep in letting men, biological men such as myself, play with those same women, whether they're black or white. This house of cards is coming down, and it's coming down right now. It's coming down right now. These people are full of shit. Shout out to Ryan Garcia. Wow, I watched the fight with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, and in the lead up to the fight, there was a lot of controversy. Obviously, I spent a lot of time, fighting mixed martial arts, training mixed martial arts. Spent some time boxing as well, and I'm a huge fan of combat sports. Partly because I just think it's a more honest. It's more honest when it comes to sports. I mean, all these other sports institutions want to pretend like there's this thin veneer of humanitarianism and involved in the whole deal, and it's just for show. Combat sports is exactly what it's about. I mean, there's a tone to combat sports. There's a feel when you go to a combat sport event, and the feel is this is a blood sport because it is. So we don't expect the fans to be what do they call it, sportsman-like. We expect the fans to get drunk and act crazy because we're at the Coliseum, and that's what the Coliseum was built for. At least they're being honest. At least when you go to MMA fight, I mean, there's no thin veneer of surface level fake sort of kumbaya. We're all here to see two men go to war to try and kill each other, to try and separate each other from consciousness and come out victorious, no matter how much blood and broken bones that takes. I appreciate that because at least it's honest. Basketball, football, they want to tell you it's about the community and it's about, our strategic partners and collaborations and improving get the fuck out of here. It's about money. You're still selling alcohol. You're still letting adults get drunk in front of kids. That's what it's about money. Okay. And in between the margins, in between the lines, in between the competitions, in between the point of sale transactions, that place where the players and the coaches and the trainers and all of them put in that hard work, that blood, sweat, and tears, that extra time and attention to detail, there the game transcends the business. And that is why the people have a deep and profound respect and admiration for the athletes and for the outcomes of the games, because we feel like we were a part of that sacrifice, that self-sacrifice. The reason why sports moves you emotionally, when a team wins and you witness it and it moves you emotionally, isn't about the distraction that you get. It isn't about the alcohol you may drink at the game. Those things exist, and they are working on your psyche. The reason you're emotionally moved is because you know inherently, you know spiritually, subconsciously, you have the intuition and instinct that in order to achieve what was just achieved, there had to be some level of self-sacrifice that went into it. And that's Jesus Christ. That's the story of Jesus Christ shining through individuals such as Caitlin Clark, such as the girls from the South Carolina women's team, such as Ryan Garcia, who went out and did the unthinkable, beat a very good champion when he was an underdog, and showed that, hey, on some nights, doesn't matter what the experts say. Matters what happens when you get in there and fight. And it was fun to watch. And shout out to Ryan Garcia. And I'll say this in closing: never forget, never forget that Ryan Garcia recently spoke out about the human and sex trafficking going on in this country, and we can never fucking pretend like what he's saying is conspiracy. Anybody who tries to pretend that the Jeffrey Epstein situation and the child sex trafficking in this country is conspiracy theory, you know exactly who they are. They don't need to say anything else to you. You know exactly who they are. And a huge shout out to Ryan Garcia again for winning the fight and shocking the boxing world, but also for having the balls to step up and speak the truth about a very, very dark reality in this country and around the world when it comes to child sex trafficking. It's been another episode of Please Call Me Crazy, brought to you by Free People Radio, powered by our favorite sponsor, TireGet.com. That's TireGet.com. You have to buy tires from somebody. You might as well buy them from us, and then help fund the movement, help support the movement. We believe in the freedom of movement. And I promise you, that is exactly what the establishment wants to take from you now. I say it almost every episode, and I'll continue to say it for you neocon conservatives out there. Do not let them fear porn you into giving up your rights. You already did it with the Patriot Act. Now we're working on doing it with these illegal immigrants. All they're going to do is create a circumstance in this country where there's so much chaos and violence that it justifies martial law. And there'll be no better time to pull that card than in the middle of a nuclear war, moment of national security crisis. Oh, martial law. Oh, there's too many people we got to lock down for the health and public safety. Your security is in your own hands. You go exercise your Second Amendment rights. You go buy yourself a gun. You become familiar with the gun. You get legally permitted and licensed to carry a gun if need be, if you're living in a state that has those laws. And you learn how to handle that gun safely, and you be responsible with that gun. But you, under no circumstances, rely upon a government that can barely fucking function to protect you. That's it for me. We'll see you on Wednesday evening. More of a news show we'll have on Wednesday. I got some more videos I want to show. I want to pull up, and we appreciate your viewership and listenership today and in the future. The fight continues. Don't die a jerk off, and as always, Godspeed.